Hey, what's going on, Cashflow Hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and I am back here again with Sean Walker from API Law. Yep. And we're doing this series. And so far in the series, we've talked about revocable trust, estate planning. We've talked about asset protection through trust planning. And it's been really good. It's been high level. And we've gotten into the weeds a little bit and some of the nuances of it all. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of the people that follow this channel, whether you're a life insurance agent who's looking to learn more and you're an entrepreneur by default, or you're a real estate investor or entrepreneur on your own, that makes up about 80% of our audience, right? And so thought it would be valuable to come in here and talk about taking the conversation about asset protection to the next level and talking about it through the lens of corporate structure. Because ultimately, when we build things, when we create a business or buy assets, and there's revenue and then there's liability that comes with each one, and you get to a place like I'm thinking I got rental properties, I got our hotel in the Dominican, I've got our media company, I've got our insurance company. It's like all those things is like if one happens to another, if we're not structured properly, there's exposure, right? Like yes, the other assets could bleed over. The liability could bleed over into another asset that has equity. Exactly. And so these are things that I think it's pretty common that somebody's got a business or two and then a couple rental properties and a couple things going on. Maybe you have kids, and obviously when we have kids that hit age to drive, more liability comes up, and you don't want your personal stuff exposing a lot of your businesses as well. So I'm gonna turn this over to you because this is your world, right? Like Let's go into all the stuff about corporate structure for asset protection. And this is obviously for the people that now you've started to build some stuff, right? You've started to create some wealth, and now it's want to make sure that you're protected in the process. Yeah, I think that's great. A lot of our clients come to us, I would say, with a lot of consolidation, meaning they've set up an LLC, and they start to get cash flow and they start to diversify their portfolio, which could mean insurance products, real property, other types of investments, but it gets all lumped into one place. Mm-hmm. And those two places are in a singular LLC that's their public-facing LLC for their business, and they buy assets into that. And many times that can be because of tax advice they may have gotten and so forth. And there's another place where things tend to gather, and that's in their personal name. So a lot of our clients will come to us and they'll have 5 company cars, all their accounts receivable, and maybe their main business property in that LLC, and they have 3 rental properties over here in their name. Sometimes they'll put the rental properties over in the business, even though they have nothing to do with the business. The challenge with that is on the outside liability, meaning the business gets sued. Okay, all of these assets are at risk if you lose the lawsuit. One of the big things that our clients say to us is, hey, well, that's why I have business type insurance, like errors and omissions, but read the fine print, because there can still be what's called a deficiency judgment, meaning the insurance only pays so much. What happens to the balance or the deficiency that doesn't get paid? Well, that needs to get paid in the judgment or charging order against your business. Okay, and anything that's in that LLC is now subject to that charging order as far as potentially a seizure of that asset, cash, Bitcoin, gold, whatever you have in that LLC now is at risk. Okay? That's interesting you say that, because there is, I'm not going to give names on this, but there is a big IUL agent who's an influencer who's got over 50 pending suits that were just the judgment was against him. And so now what's happening is there is the E&O coverage is balancing what they're going to cover, and they're trying to figure out what is the deficiency judgment going to be, and it's going to be a lot of money, with all this, and so I don't know what they have going on, but like when I look at this, if they're not structured properly, there's a lot of exposure, and that's in the life insurance business, right? So obviously, don't be a jerk and don't do things wrong, right. But like, and there's certain things they deserve, but like you could do everything right and still bad things can happen to you or your 100%. Company. Yep. Yep.
One of the other big things, Chris, that people, it's often a blind spot for our business owners, whether you've been in business for 20 years or just getting started, is what we call inside liability, meaning the liability comes from inside the company. So that could be you, the business owner, getting sued personally.
Okay.
There might be an accident at your home, a traffic accident, something that you do that causes harm to somebody, and the judgment comes against you personally.
Okay.
And if you own the membership units of your business, that could potentially get seized in a judgment or charging order.
Okay.
Another thing is the liability could come from somebody else inside your company. You've got a business partner, he likes to flirt with the secretary. You've told him 1,000 times, Joe, you can't say that in the meeting in front of this person. He never learns. She quits one day, and a week later, you get served.
Yep.
Okay, that's actually very common. That comes from inside the business.
Yep.
And so what we do is we look at what type of business you have, both business liabilities from the outside and what potential liabilities you have from the inside, and start to build the structure around those two things first. And then we look at what types of assets that you actually own, okay, personally and in the business, and we'll say, hey, look, you've got a fleet of trucks, of 12 trucks, that's high liability. Let's separate those out into their own entity. If somebody gets run over, they sue that LLC, but they can't get at all of your other stuff over here. Okay, so separation of assets. And another thing too is we tell people, if you have a public facing LLC that the whole world knows, keep it. Okay, just strip out all of the assets, including your cash flow, out of it and just run it through. Now, we're not trying to give you tax advice, okay, but we would say don't hold anything that's of value in your public facing LLC. Okay,
makes sense.
And so if you get sued and lose everything, well, they get the laptop, for example, okay?
Sure.
And the more they have to chase and discover where these other entities are, the more legal fees they might rack up. And truly, there are a lot of frivolous lawsuits out there that die on the vine almost immediately when the plaintiff's attorney says, hey, this is $50,000 just to get started because this is going to be a fight, okay?
And a lot of the attorneys that might take it on contingency are not going to want to do it because
Right.
it's just too costly, too time prohibitive,
Yeah, and
too involved.
one of the big myths about contingency fees, guys, we see the late night infomercial at 10 p.m. that says, hey, hire me to go after your landlord, hire me to go after your boss that's suing you.
Yeah.
That's really not a reality. Personal injury attorneys for traffic accidents, yes, but business lawsuits, that world doesn't really exist much. Okay. Most of the time you're ponying up money for a business attorney to go after another business. Okay, that's been our experience, and we've sued other businesses as a law firm, and we don't do them for free.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's one of the benefits of working with you guys is that you operate on both sides of it, right? Like you're going to protect the clients and structure them properly, but you do so through the lens of really intimately learning their business and figuring out, all right, if we were to sue you for ABC scenarios, how would we do it based on where you are, and what can we do to protect and insulate you from those scenarios? Yeah,
exactly. And I think part of what sets us aside from many law firms that do estate planning is our attorneys have also represented private individuals and businesses suing other people, trying to get back what's due to our clients. And so we have looked at businesses and individuals and said, hey, in order to get back what's owed to our client, here's how we're going to do it. And that gives us, I think, some different insight when we set up structures for brand new clients, is we're saying, hey, if we were coming at you, how would we go about this? And the thing is, guys, is personal injury attorneys, this is all they do all day long, is it's not always about winning, it's about settling. Okay, and stringing you out in legal fees forever. So we also understand that game and how to try to prevent that from happening as much as possible.
Isn't that a legal thing in general? Like attorneys don't want to go to court if they don't have to because trials are timely, costly, expensive, all this stuff. They want to settle as much as possible or arbitrate or whatever. But at the end of the day, money is money, right? And
they follow the money. And we, just because somebody sees that you operate, everybody knows Warren Buffett and the businesses that he owns, but it's very difficult to actually get your hands on his assets because of proper structure and anonymity that he set up the right way.
So talk to me, before we land the plane on this, talk to me about somebody who obviously is maybe newer in their career, and
Yep.
they don't have a lot of assets. But I think this is something that's really important to have the conversation about for people who are newer, maybe are just starting. They're a life insurance agent, is having a little success, maybe a real estate investor,
Yep.
starting to have success. Maybe even a W-2 employee that's saying, I want to start to become a real estate investor or whatever. Talk to me about the importance of corporate structure and let's go back a little bit to the revocable trust estate planning conversation, how those
Yep.
two things tie together on how you build the foundation to get moving forward, to
Yep.
start where you are and build on top of it strategically.
Yeah, absolutely. So you take an entrepreneur that's just getting started. You've got a wife, 2 kids, a dog, a boat, and a house. Okay, we want to protect that with the revocable living trust. Everybody needs one of those, no matter what your age is. And then you start a side gig. You still have W-2 income. Okay, we want to make sure that your LLC, let's just say a single LLC setup,
Sure.
is set up the right way with compliance, and that year over year that compliance stays in place, so that even if you have a young company that gets sued, it won't bleed over into your personal assets, and all of a sudden, if you've done it the wrong way, your personal residence has a $150,000 lien against it, and your W-2 wages are getting garnished for $1,000 a month until this other judgment gets paid. Okay, so half of all business lawsuits where people set up their own entity pierce the corporate veil, according to the American Bar Association.
Wow.
50% pierce that corporate veil and get at the private assets because of DIY setups. So, guys, it's very critical, even in the beginning, that you have a law firm that understands how to do this the right way and do it from the very beginning.
I love it. So one of the things you mentioned is you got to make sure that you structure properly, and you got to make sure we're operating accordingly to protect ourselves. It's the
Yep.
operations is the key, not just getting it set up. But when we talk about compliance and protection through that, where does the exposure come from for?
Yeah, I think a
business
lot
owners?
of times business owners may watch a 5-minute video on how to set up an LLC in their state,
Yeah.
but that's from somebody that doesn't really know how to do it. Okay, and so we will make sure that you are compliant when it gets set up to begin with.
Okay.
Also, the year-over-year renewals with the state, just like the tabs on your car registration, that has to be done the right way. But also your operating agreement and any annual meeting minutes, things like that have to be kept up and maintained, because it's the first thing the opposing counsel is going to look at to see if those things exist and they're compliant. And if they're not, what they'll say to the judge is, hey, they're not compliant. They're operating this business as a hobby level, and it's an alias of their natural person. Therefore, judge, we want you to pierce the corporate veil.
Yeah.
And 3 of the biggest things they're going to look at in discovery is, are you commingling the funds? Yes or no. So if you're consistently using business money and paying for personal things, or you're moving monies in a way between accounts that you shouldn't, get with your CPA, get with us, and get some basic advice on how not to commingle these businesses. Another big thing is, don't move money between businesses horizontally. Okay. Get advice from a CPA on taxes, but also you don't want to have commingling of funds between 2 different businesses, because that can then create a link and so forth. And there's lots of other things that we would go through in compliance with you, but those are kind of some of the key things to be focused on in the beginning.
So I think at the end of the day, it comes down to intentionality and getting clarity about what you're trying to create and what the objective of these businesses are, and your lifestyle, and making sure that you structure everything, not just on paper, like from a hierarchy perspective of like, I have my businesses owned by this, that, whatever. Operationally, there has to be alignment with how you have it structured, and that alignment is what's going to create your protection.
Yep.
From an operational perspective. And so working with somebody, an attorney that can consult you and be a partner with you in accomplishing that, can be a make it or break it scenario. Does that fair?
Yeah, and guys, our paralegals are brilliant, and every state, they know these statutes. They know how to set them up the right way. We keep you compliant year over year, and when you have a question, call us first. Don't go do something first. Have us consult you to do it the right way, whether it's adding a business partner, bringing on new assets. We're going to tell you how to do that in a compliant fashion to hopefully lower your risk of losing in a lawsuit.
Love it. Well, hopefully you found value in this. To me, this is one of the most important, I guess, educations that you can have. If you're starting a business, investing in real estate, I know most of the people I talk to are exposed in some capacity with this stuff. And so it's one of the most important things that you can do is getting this dialed in. So if you have any questions, if you are curious and you want to set up a clarity call, a discovery call, you can go down in the description below. I'm going to have links to set up a call with the API law team to do a discovery call there. And once again, it's not a big sales pitch. It's literally just trying to get value to you, get clarity from you on what's going on, the good, the bad, the ugly. And this is, I'm a big believer, just because the ostrich buries its head in the sand doesn't mean the lion's dinner plans have changed, right? This is stuff that we all need to deal with. This is stuff that if you ignore it, it could be catastrophic. And it's not that hard to deal with. It's a little overwhelming, but when you work with the right team and they get a clear understanding of what's going on in your life, they can help you make it a lot easier, and it's not as cost prohibitive as you probably think based on the information that I see online on social media a lot of times, where people are talking 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 for this kind of stuff. Yeah. It's very, very, very doable, even out of the onset, if you don't have a ton of cash flow. So I would just say check that out. Click on the links in the description below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. That way you're notified every time we launch a new video. We've got this playlist coming out. We're going to do a lot more content focused on tax and focused on estate planning, all the trust formation stuff that we're talking about. And I think that's it. So thanks for being here today.
Hey, thank you, Chris.
And thanks for having me, I should say. And that's it for this one. Until next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. Talk then.